Hey guys, welcome to a quarantine podcast video. Obviously, I'm not in the studios, and that's okay. I still wanted to come to you guys and talk about intimidation and what that means when a person is intimidated and when a person wants to intimidate. So I get this a lot under my videos, with many of you saying that you love it when people are intimidated by you, or you notice that people are intimidated by you, or that you are intimidated by specific types of individuals. And what I really figured out by looking through tons and tons of comments over the years about intimidating or intimidation just in general is that specific people want to be intimidating. Now, this may shock you guys, but it didn't really shock me. A lot of these comments weren't from like real Scorpios. They came from, variations of Scorpio aspects like Pluto in the first, or Scorpio risings, or Sun conjunct Plutos, or, oh, I'm so scary. I love intimidating people. People are so intimidated when they look at me. And the way that this is discussed is as if it's a good thing, and if they enjoy that, fear, because that's what intimidation is. It is a type of fear. It's a type of feeling that you're less than, just smaller than the other person, that you're not as good as the other person, or they scare you in some sort of way. It may not be physical. It may be on an emotional level. It may be various, it could be many things. So when someone wants to intimidate someone else, normally it is because they have a lot to hide. And so intimidation is kind of like that gate that keeps other people out. And some people do that by being very loud. Some people do that by being very withdrawn and scary looking. You know what I mean? Some people do that by being overly aggressive. There's so many ways to intimidate someone. Some people even do it in a way that you wouldn't expect. They, dress really extravagant, and they just kind of look at people. They never join in the group. They want to give you that air of, I'm bigger and badder than you are, And they do this because it's not because they want you to be afraid. It's because they are afraid. They're afraid of what will happen when you pull back that top layer. I always talk about the top layer, and I mention this in so many of my videos about that outer layer, and why that's so important, and why it's so important to understand what your outer layer is. What is your outer layer? And I'm not just talking about the rising sign, although that's very important, and a lot of people don't want to go there with me about the rising sign and things like that. But it's very important to discover what your outer layer is. What is your intimidation to other people? Are you overly boisterous? And you know what I mean? You have this kind of front to keep them at a little bit of distance. Some people are very cold and very, they become emotionless and, emotionless, and that's their intimidation. So people kind of stay back, like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to see. And the interesting thing about that is that if you enjoy that, like that's your intent, it tells a story. It tells a story that when someone peels that back, and they will, people like your family members, people who've grown up with you, who have seen underneath, they know what you're about. So the fear is that when people pull that back, now what are you? What happens then? Some people, people never get past me. They never get past my rising sign. It's like, but why would you want that? So you're going to live your whole life with people never getting past your rising sign. That makes no sense. That means you can't excel in life. You can't really get anything because people aren't going to know you well enough to help you. You're not going to love anyone properly without knowing all the layers, without people getting past the layers. And I find that the most intimidating people are the ones with the most to hide. They have the most to hide. And they're the ones that are really afraid, which is why I don't go by first impressions. I don't believe it. If I meet somebody and they have this whole thing going on, like, I literally do not fall for it. I don't believe it. I'm like, that's just what they're doing right now, and I'm going to let them do it. You know what I'm saying? And so the way that people who are doing this, who are intentionally trying to intimidate people, the other person normally knows, you know what I mean? They're just like, yeah, like, I get you've got some problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get that's what you're doing. Like, you're not fooling anybody. Now, people who are intimidated, and I spoke a little bit about this in my live stream that I did. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go back and watch the whole thing. The people who are intimidated by others feel a little bit beneath. They feel a little bit less than. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not like that. I'm not at that level. Or it could be a physical fear. Maybe the other person's bigger and you know what I mean? And they bully everybody. So it's some sort of you feeling beneath them. And because I don't feel beneath anyone, because I go by what your inner power is. Forget the outer stuff. What's the inner level? Have you worked on the inner level? And so nobody intimidates me, like, not physically, not emotionally, or anything else. Do you know what I'm saying? And so those of you who do feel that way need to go inside and deal with the inner work. And that's something that is really difficult for a lot of people to do. They just don't want to go through the stages. I have no intention of intimidating someone. There's no power in that, actually. The power is in people feeling comfortable with you. I don't want to stand in front of you. I'll stand beside you. There's a difference. If someone stood right in front of you, you'd feel some kind of way. You'd always be like this. When they stand next to you, you feel more comfortable. They're one of the pack. They're part of the group. It's a psychological thing. You're not talking down to them. You know what I mean? You're right next to them. You're equal, And that's also another thing with people who stand right in front of you and talk. They come right in front of your face and they're like, it's kind of a very authoritative position. But when they're standing side by side, you feel more friendly. There's power in that. There's power in people being an ally instead of being on your side because they're afraid of you. So anyway, being intimidating or trying to do that only shows your weaker position, because clearly there's something that you're hiding, and you don't gain anything by being intimidated. You don't gain anything by staring at somebody. Ooh, yeah, I shut them down. How did you shut them down? You know what I mean? That could have been a potential friend, a potential lover, a potential ally who can help you in tough times. Why would you intentionally create enemies? Like, think about what you're doing psychologically to yourself as well in that. There's something about that that you're chipping away at who you are underneath. And if you have an issue with yourself underneath, you have so much to hide. Your intimidation is going to be that much greater. Your gait is going to be that much taller. For those of you who are intimidated by other people, really, if you think about it, that our gait is just a mask, because that's the way that I think about it. I'm like, that everybody's character outside is just what it is. I don't believe it. I know that's not who they are. So for me, it's a reality. It's like, you're no better than me. You just maybe have a better mask. You have a better better shield on, or, that's what you're doing. So it's not, for me, it's not fearful, because I know that beyond the gate, there's so much more than that. So I just wanted to come in and talk about that for a minute. And, I hope you guys are being safe. I know you are sick of staying in the house. I'm certainly sick of staying in the house. But please just follow the rules, wear your face mask, wash your hands, sanitize, all that good stuff. Stay away from people who are intentionally sneezing. And I've seen people doing that, and I'm like, wow, that's like, that's another form of intimidation. I'm going to purposely spread germs. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're hurting yourself. You know what I mean? And I'll have some more videos up for you guys. And I think that's it. Let me know in the comments. This is important. Let me know in the comments if you've ever intentionally tried to intimidate somebody. And if you look in the mirror, I'm asking you guys to look in the mirror, because this is something that I do every single day. If you look in the mirror and look at yourself, I was explaining this to someone, a Scorpio, by the way, that I just met. If you look at yourself and ask yourself why you want people to fear you, or why you behave in such a way, or what is it about yourself that you don't want people to know about? What is so scary that you don't want people to find out? Or what is so ugly about you that you don't want to share your real personality with other people? This is a conversation for you. Get your journals out, get in the mirror if you dare, because the mirror is a harder place to be. A lot of people rather write, but they don't want to really talk to themselves. When you have to look in your own eyes and have that dialogue, it is a whole other situation. It is a game changer. Trust me, it is a game changer. I do it every day. Ask yourself why that. Why do I have these gates? Like, what is it? What is it about myself that I don't want people to know, that I don't want to share myself with? What is it? What's the fear behind that? What's the fear behind it? And do you guys even understand that you have an outer layer? Do you even get that? Do you even get that you have this whole facade? Like, I get mine, but I use it to my advantage. I'm not an intimidating person. Like, people are not intimidated by me. People are very friendly. They always come up and say hi. They want to hug me, things like that. I have no reason whatsoever to want to intimidate someone at all. You know what I'm saying? I navigate my life through feeling. So if I feel something's off, I leave. But also, I'm also a go-getter. So I know that in order for me to get things, I have to allow people around me. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't mean you have to be totally open and just give them everything. You know what I'm saying? Right away. That just means I am honest with myself. I'm comfortable with myself. So therefore, it doesn't matter who you are. I'm still comfortable standing next to you. It doesn't make a difference. So I have no reason to intimidate anyone, and no one intimidates me, because I'm comfortable. So put that in the comments. And are you intimidated by someone? And what do you think it is? What do you think the reason that you are fearful of someone else or feel less than somebody else? And also realize that whatever they're showing you is not their true nature. Once you get that, once you get it, I swear, you'll just be like, you know what I mean? Once I started doing that, I'm like, that's not what they're about. I've hung around so many people, and I know beneath, as soon as you cut off the edges of the bread, you have a whole other person. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming podcasts. And for now, we'll be doing it this way instead of at the studio, obviously. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.